So, again, as I was saying earlier, we have this situation. I don't know how many of you are familiar with the study that was done in 2014 by a political scientist at Princeton and one at Northwestern, which showed that the people, in terms of their position on legislation and policy and public policy, doesn't really get represented by the American system. Pretty much the interests of wealthy people and powerful institutions gets represented. That's what we're facing in our society, where we have strong majority support for progressive policies, but very few people have been elected into our political system who actively fight for what people want. There aren't that many elected true progressive champions. But the person I'm about to introduce next is a real, full regalia, true progressive champion, Congressman Ro Khanna.
To be here, and I was just with Senator Bernie Sanders. And he wanted to make sure, Jane, and he wanted to make sure to thank you for your endorsement of the Bernie Sanders campaign for president. So thank you for what you're doing. I want to take my 5 minutes to explain and share with you why I am one of Bernie Sanders' national co-chairs and why I think it is so important for us to do the work to elect him president. First reason I signed up, I worked with Senator Sanders for 2 years on the War Powers Resolution to stop our wars in Yemen. Let me tell you, there are 14 million people who possibly face famine in Yemen. We passed, Bernie Sanders and I passed for the first time in the history of the United States Congress a War Powers Resolution, both through the Senate and the House. It hasn't been done since 1973. And that resolution, even though Trump vetoed it, led to us stopping the refueling of Saudi planes. And it led to a ceasefire in Hodeidah. So when people say Bernie Sanders, when you hear the nonsense about Bernie Sanders not being effective, you should let people know he's the only person who helped lead a War Powers Resolution and has helped save thousands of lives by stopping refueling in Yemen. And I know, because I have spent time with him, I know when he is president of the United States, we will have no more unconstitutional wars. These wars which have cost us $6 to $7 trillion over the last 20 years. Bernie Sanders believes that we need to use that money instead to invest in our communities, in our country. He believes that's why he believes we need free education, free tuition, college across this country. $80 billion is what it would cost. That's 2 years of spending in Afghanistan. Instead of being in Afghanistan for 18 years and we come back, we can give every kid in this country a free college tuition education. Bernie Sanders believes, as you have all over, that healthcare is a human right, and if you really believe healthcare is a human right, it is time to have Medicare for all. He understands that Medicare for all is not just about making sure everyone is treated with basic dignity. It's about giving people the opportunity to change jobs or to start a business. It's actually good economics. You know, Taiwan, which is one of the most free market economies in the world, has a single-payer healthcare system. And guess what? Guess what? They have lower healthcare costs and more coverage. I was on the CBO. We had the CBO budget director in front of our budget committee, and I said, would healthcare mean more wages for people? He said yes, because it's common sense. Most of the employers are paying $10,000, $12,000 in premiums. Guess what would happen if they didn't have to pay that? We finally get a wage raise for workers. And it would mean people having less costs on their insurance and better benefits. It's not just a moral issue. Bernie Sanders understands it's a better economic issue. Bernie Sanders also is for making sure that we get money finally out of politics. Because he understands until you have big pharma and big insurance corrupting Congress, we're not going to get the change we need. So let me tell you this, and let me end with this. this campaign is not going to be easy.
Oh, God.
And the reason it's not going to be easy is because Bernie Sanders' opposition aren't candidates. Bernie Sanders' opposition are structural interests.
Right.
That don't want to see a change.
That's right.
They don't want to see a change to endless wars. They don't want to see a change to excessive insurance profits. They don't want to see a change to pharmaceutical profits. They don't want to see a change to college, university profits. That's who we're all up against. But here's the good news. The policies that Bernie Sanders has been fighting for the last 30 years are the policies that the American people want overwhelmingly. A classic battle between the powerful interests and the will of the people. And I still believe in this democracy. I believe if we organize, if we mobilize, if we do our part, that the people will win and we will elect Bernie Sanders, the next president of the United States.